Most of you probably have taken some form or some version of a personality assessment before. Maybe it was Strength Finders, maybe it was DISC, maybe it was Enneagram, or one of the other hundreds of quizzes floating around out there on the internet. And maybe you did have that moment where the results felt eerily accurate. That moment that you're like, oh, this is so me. And then what happened? The results sat in your inbox or in your downloads folder, and nothing actually changed. And I hear this all the time because insight alone does not create the change. Integration does. Implementation does. So just reading about yourself is one thing, but understanding how to actually live differently because of what you learned is something else entirely different.
Welcome to the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast, where you will learn simple solutions to win at work without losing at home. Hi, my name is Martine Williams, and I'm your host and CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And this podcast is your one-stop shop to creating a burnout-proof life and business by elevating your clarity, confidence, and courage. Friends, it's time to say goodbye to being the yes girl, to procrastinating on your goals and living in overwhelm. And it's time to say hello to creating healthy boundaries, healthy mindsets, and healthy habits so that you can achieve work-life harmony. Your next breakthrough starts here. This is the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast. Let's do this.
Well, hey, and welcome back to the show. I'm so glad that you are here. Today, I want to talk about one of the most powerful tools available to high achieving women. And I think for a lot of you, it's just you don't know what you don't know. You've heard me talk about it a lot here on the podcast, but it's your personality blueprint. And if you've been around here for any amount of time, I know you have heard me talk about the ProScan. And today I want to go just a little bit deeper than I usually do. And I want to tell you exactly what it reveals about you, not in clinical terms, in real life terms, the kind that makes you stop and say, oh, that's why I do that, or oh, that's why that feels that way. Because I am on a mission to help women to understand themselves on this level, because there's a level of freedom that comes in your motherhood, in your entrepreneur journey, in your profession when you understand this. And the other really beautiful thing that comes as a byproduct of you knowing yourself on this level is you start to honor, respect the differences of other people, that they're not going to be like you and they might respond differently than you. And it doesn't mean that you're right and they're wrong, or they're right and you're wrong. It just means it's different. And it really decreases like the comparisonitis that we all experience as women, especially in comparing how one person does their business or one person does their motherhood, or how this person parents, or like it's just can be such a hustle game out there, and just unnecessary stress that we place on ourselves. So when I think of the ProScan and you understanding yourself on this level, there's a freedom to be who you were designed and created and developed to be. And then there's also this flexibility to become who you need to become at any given moment when the task, the goal, the job requires it. So it doesn't box you in. And I have done other assessments, and maybe you have too, but that's the beautiful thing about the ProScan is that it doesn't put you in a box and label you. So the moment that I see a woman go through this experience, whether it's a one-on-one client or someone who's attended the collective, it's really one of the most powerful things that I get to witness in my work is when that, oh, this is why moment. And I want you to have it too. And I want you to understand that it's not just this fun little quiz or a fun assessment. Like it can deeply, profoundly impact how you show up as the woman that you are. So I want to acknowledge that, again, most of you probably have taken some form or some version of a personality assessment before. Maybe it was Strength Finders, done that. Maybe it was DISC, maybe it was Enneagram, or one of the other hundreds of quizzes floating around out there on the internet. And I have probably done all of them because I love this kind of stuff. And maybe you did have that moment where the results felt like eerily accurate. And that moment that you're like, oh, this is so me, right? Where you wanted to text someone and say, you have to read this because it describes me so perfectly. And then what happened? Like life kept moving. The results sat in your inbox or in your downloads folder, or maybe you even printed it off and now it's in a folder somewhere collecting dust in your file cabinet and nothing actually changed. And I hear this all the time. Whether I have gone to a corporate establishment and done like a team scan experience, like they've all said, I've done these before and nothing changed. Because insight alone does not create the change, integration does. Implementation does. So just reading about yourself is one thing, but understanding how to actually live differently because of what you learned is something else entirely different. And that gap between like the insight and the integration is exactly why most assessments end up being a really interesting experience that doesn't actually move the needle. The ProScan Personality Blueprint experience is different, not because the assessment itself is magic, although I will say it is 98% accurate. Over 5 million people have taken it. It's a scientific tool that they keep making better and better and better and testing and testing and testing. So it is one of the number one valid, accurate assessments out there that's science backed, it's not based on theory. But where the integration comes in is when you have someone do it with you and help you walk through it, which is why you can't just go to PDP Global's website and take a ProScan. You have to go through someone who is certified, like myself, so that we can fully help you understand and integrate the information that you have. And I love that about this company because, again, like you can go take a quiz and it'd be interesting, but you need someone to walk you through those results and how to integrate. If not, it's just interesting. And so today I'm going to try to reveal to you as concisely as I can exactly what it reveals about you so you understand why this is so important and how this can really impact your life, your business, and you personally. So when you listen to these, they're not just abstract concepts, but I want you to think of it as real things that are showing up in your actual life right now. The first thing that it reveals about you is your 4 cornerstone personality traits. So this is every single one of us has the trait of dominance. Every one of us has extroversion. We have pace, which is like your patience trait, and conformity, which is your systems and structure trait. So every single one of us have those 4 cornerstone personality traits in our personality. What the ProScan reveals is what intensity do each one of those traits show up in your personality. And based on that intensity, you can predict behavior. You can understand why you might procrastinate on some things. You might understand why you are that take charge person and that person who can just get things done very, very quickly. You understand why you might need a little bit more time and processing. You understand where your creativeness comes from, where your idea generator comes from, where maybe you're not an idea generator. You're more of like, this is the way we do it. This is the way I've always done it. Why you're such a routine person. And these are all strengths. Each strength, yes, might have a shadow side to it, but the beautiful thing about the ProScan is it really illuminates what your strengths are and not your weaknesses. Because let's just face it, as women, we have no problem picking out our weaknesses. So another thing that it reveals is how you naturally make decisions. And my number one job as someone's coach is to help them make a decision because a lot of your mental fatigue, a lot of your mental exhaustion is coming from the inability to make a decision. And you're living in the land of indecision and you're straddling a fence and you have multiple indecision moments happening at the same time. Multiple decisions that need to be made that for whatever reason you're not making. And so when you have an important decision to make, do you tend to lead with your gut? So like your instinct, your feeling about something, or do you tend to lead with data? Like you're researching, you're analyzing, you're making sure you have all the information before you move forward. Neither one of those is better. They're just different. And here's what happens when you don't know which one you are, because we all have a decision-making style based on our personality. You start second guessing yourself because somewhere along the way, someone told you that you should be making decisions the other way, right? Or that you're too emotional or you're too impulsive, or you're too analytical, or you're too slow, any of those things. And when you know how you naturally make decisions, you stop apologizing for it. And you just start feeding what you need to make that decision. You start working with it. And your decisions get clearer and faster and more confident. That self-trust begins to build. And what can change a lot for you as a mompreneur and female entrepreneur specifically is when you understand how the people around you make decisions too, your partner, your team, your clients. So many moments of friction finally make sense. So it's not that you're wrong and they're right. You're just wired differently. And that's a very different conversation when you can understand what your natural decision-making style is and maybe what your husband's decision-making style is. Mine is very different from my husband's. He's very much a facts-based decision maker. I'm an intuitive decision maker. And so like he needs a lot of facts before he's making a decision. I just kind of trust my gut and go. And that doesn't mean that I'm impulsive. It just means I don't need all the facts. So the second thing that it reveals is how you naturally relate to people. And before I move into this, I just want you to think about like the decisions that you have right now going on in your mind that you need to make, or maybe even a recent decision that you just made. Can you see where maybe you called upon one of those two styles, where you just trust and you just know this is the best? Even you just know. I know a lot of faith-filled people that's your intuition and your faith, right? That you pull upon for your decision. But even then, even if you are someone who is of the faith, like you probably still might have more of a facts-based decision-making style. And so just understanding that so you can, again, give yourself what you need so that you can make the decision. So how you naturally relate to people. Some of you are energized by connection. You leave a room full of people feeling fired up and ready to take on the world. And you give like a networking event or a team meeting or a dinner with friends, and they all come home feeling full. You come home feeling full because you love to connect. You're energized by connection. Others of you, equally warm, equally caring, equally relation oriented, but you might leave those same situations feeling completely depleted. Not because something is wrong with you, but because your natural style requires more quiet and more solitude to recharge. And I see this a lot, especially in entrepreneurship where, networking is required and being on social media might be required, being out there. And there's a lot of people who struggle with this. Like, I can't be successful because I'm not like you, Martine, who is outgoing and gets your energy from people and like all of that. You absolutely can. It's just knowing that this is going to require a little bit more energy for you to do this than it will for me. It gets actually more draining for me to be in solitude. It's more draining for me to be behind this desk, behind this computer, in this office by myself. Like I really love and I'm energized by other people, which is why I'm doing more in-person experiences. And I know I'm not alone in that. But your blueprint shows you which one you are. And it shows you where your natural communication style looks like at its best and where it creates friction when you're under stress. This one is huge for mompreneurs because if you're wired to need quiet and solitude to recharge, and you're also running a business and raising children and being the person everyone comes to, you're operating at a significant energy deficit every single day. And you probably have been for years and you haven't been able to really explain it. This doesn't mean you're not disciplined. It's just a wiring mismatch, and it's just you learning how to manage your energy versus manage your time. So it is fixable when you see it clearly. And it makes so much sense because so many of you, and including myself, beat ourselves up over something that looks to be easy for someone else, but it's really challenging for us. And once you understand this, like all of that starts to go away. All of that added stress and judgment and shame goes away because now you fully understand yourself. Quick pause. If you've been listening and you're ready to stop performing your life and start leading it, if you know you're ready to feel better now, not later, and you're ready for support that actually creates sustainable transformation, I have private one-on-one coaching spots open. And inside this coaching, in Illuminate You coaching, we don't guess. We use your unique personality blueprint built from the science-backed personality performance tool called the ProScan, the one you've heard me talk about here in the podcast. This is used so that every decision, every boundary, every shift is designed specifically around your wiring, not someone else's. This is my aligned success method. It's not hacks. It's not try harder. It's not mindset glitter. It's a real solution. It's rooted in science, strategy, and your unique design. So you can lead your life as the woman you actually are, not the woman others expect you to be. Now is the time. Take the step. Book your clarity call at martinewilliams.com/clarity. All right, back to the episode. So the third thing that it reveals is how you naturally approach tasks and change and goals. So some of you thrive on variety, like you get bored very easily. You love jumping between projects. You do your best work under urgency. Give you a deadline and you come alive. Give you a long, slow project with no clear endpoint and you struggle to stay engaged. Other women need consistency. They need time to finish one thing before they start another. They do their best work when they can go deep rather than wide. Change feels disruptive rather than energizing. That's me. That's me. Like change feels very disruptive. And I've learned to adjust to that and I've learned how to manage that. But I prefer predictable, steady environments. And so when I'm not in that type of environment, I understand how, again, to manage my energy around it. So neither is better, but here's what I watch happen when women don't know which one they are. They set up systems that completely work against how they're built. The woman who thrives on variety tries to implement a rigid, identical routine every single day and then beats herself up when she cannot stick to it. The woman who needs consistency keeps saying yes to too many things and then wonders why she feels scattered and unproductive. When you know how you naturally approach tasks and change, you stop setting yourself up for failure. You build your days around how you actually function and everything gets easier. Everything gets more simple. So think about that. When's the last time you tried to take on someone else's productivity system and it didn't work for you because it doesn't align with how you naturally operate? Now, again, there are some of you, if you do, like if you're not high in systems and structure trait and you're kind of a wing it kind of girl, there are going to be times where we have to raise your conformity to get you on a better system because that's what's required to get the job done. So the fourth thing, and this is probably my favorite part of a personality blueprint experience, is understanding your priority environments and the pressure that you're currently under. So the ProScan, your personality blueprint experience, shows you in real time how you're doing right now. This is very eye-opening when someone goes through this part because they're like, oh, I understand now why I feel the way that I feel. Oh, no wonder I'm feeling drained. Oh, okay, I'm not crazy. I am drained. I am experiencing pressure. I am experiencing, and this is where it's coming from. Because a lot of times, the women that I work with, they know they feel pressure and they know that they feel the drain. They just don't know exactly where it's coming from. And so then they start trying to solve the wrong problem. And they think they need to get more organized. I need to be more disciplined. I need to have a better schedule. I need to, fill in the blank there on what you would try to do. But then you're solving the wrong problem. So the gap between who you naturally are and who the pressure in your life is currently making you to be, that's what creates strain. So we have a natural way we show up, and then we have what is being required of us right now. And your priority environment is the gap between those two things, who you naturally are and the pressure that you're currently feeling to be something different. And most of us have never seen that gap clearly. You feel it. You feel like there is something off, like you're performing a version of yourself that doesn't quite fit. You feel that. And then you're tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. That feeling is always, always in that gap. It's revealed in this part of the blueprint. And when you can see it clearly, when you can actually look at that report and it shows you these things, your natural self on one side and your stressed self on the other, something shifts for these women. You stop blaming yourself, you start understanding yourself, and this is where the real change can begin. So at my last collective in April, we went through this experience together. So this is the big bulk of the workshop on that Friday that we do is we dive into your personality blueprint experience. And you get to do it with other women, which is really fun because There are women in the room who have similar traits as you, and there are women in the room that have complete opposite traits than you. And it's just so fun to see how each one of you connect, how each one of you share, like, oh, how this is showing up in my life and my business, and this is what's stopping me or keeping me stuck. Like, it's just a really cool experience to take with other women. But so many of them received their blueprint and they opened it up and they looked at it and they just could not believe how accurate it was and how they had not known themselves on this level. And the quiet recognition that this is who I am and I don't have to apologize for it. Like, this is actually okay. This is who I am. How can I lean into this even more? Because many of them had spent years wondering why certain things felt harder than they seemed for everyone else, why she was exhausted, why they were exhausted no matter what they tried to do, why they couldn't make themselves do certain systems that worked well for other people. Like, there was just this moment of recognition and awareness that is so powerful because it allows you just to really step into your power, into your strengths, and start harnessing them versus hiding them and apologizing for them. When you're told, like, it's not wrong that you're that way, right? Or there's nothing wrong with you, or you're not broken, you're not flawed, and you truly see how you're actually designed, it just changes the game. And that's what the blueprint does. It doesn't tell you who to be, it shows you who you already are. And it also gives you the flexibility to know, hey, I can become this version of myself if the job requires it. So this is what makes the collective a different experience than just receiving your blueprint report or just receiving a quiz results from the internet. In the August Collective, every woman's going to receive her full ProScan Personality Blueprint. But I'm not just handing it to you and sending you on your way. We're going to walk through it together, page by page, in a room with other women where every person is doing the same thing and the same work at the same time. And it really is a very empowering experience that I can't fully describe, because when you hear another woman read something from her blueprint that perfectly describes something that you've been experiencing, something that you thought was just you, the whole room just shifts. There's like this big exhale that happens, and you stop feeling alone in it, and you start seeing yourself more clearly. You start accepting yourself more powerfully, and you understand yourself in a way that changes how you make decisions, how you manage your energy, how you show up in your business, your marriage, your parenting, and your life going forward. Like, there's just this source of power that you have not been tapped into that now you are. We also spend some time doing some trait pairing. So this is where you will sit with a woman who is wired differently than you are, and you have a 5-minute conversation. And also being paired up with someone who has a similar trait than you. And it's just a really fun exercise to really hear how these traits are showing up in your life and how it's misunderstood. Like, that's a really powerful part of the conversation. Like, how is your trait of high dominance, especially for a woman who's high dominant, it's misunderstood a lot. Women are, society has told us to play small, don't use our voice. Like, it's just wild. And so all of these women who have this high power dominance in their personality can be perceived as being mean, right? Or short or snobby and all of these things. And like, when you're in a room with someone who has that same trait and you realize, no, this is actually a powerful position to be in and used responsibly, right? Like, personality is a gift, behavior is a choice. So just because you have this high dominance in your personality doesn't mean you get to walk around and be mean to people and start pointing fingers and telling everybody what to do. But you do have that naturally in you. And we don't want to hide that, because we need women to show up as God created them so they can go do what God created them to do. So then we take everything you learned about yourself and we apply it. We take a life audit and we create an energy management plan, and then the commitments that you're going to make to yourself in the closing kind of circle of the collective. So I hope this deeper dive kind of shared with you how this impacts you when you have this information. And I want to leave you with this. If you've been trying to figure out yourself for a long time, you've read the books, you've done some work, maybe you've tried to understand why certain things feel harder than they should, you've read the books, you listened to some podcasts, And maybe you've gotten some pieces of that answer, but never the full picture. And not having a real time picture of what's going on right now. That is the amazing part of the ProScan. Your personality blueprint is the full picture. And walking through it in a room full of women who are doing the same work at the same time is the integration piece that makes it actually stick. There are still women today that I coached and took through this process one-on-one years ago that send me messages that come back to their ProScan time and time and time again, and understanding who they are and how empowered they feel in their life. So I want to extend the invitation for you to join the August Collective in Murrells Inlet, South Carolina, which is a beautiful place to come to. So if you're not local, this is not just for locals. Grab your bestie or grab no one and give yourself a weekend to yourself. It's a Thursday evening and Friday day. So, you can still make it back for any family events you have on the weekend, or you can just decide to make it a full weekend for yourself. But it's going to be in Murrells Inlet, August 27th and 28th. It's limited to 20 women only because I'm keeping it small. And the first 10 women who register receive 2 private 30-minute sessions with me, one before to prepare for the room and one after to apply everything to your business and your life post the collective. A few of those sessions are already gone. So go to martinwilliams.com/the collective 2026 and reserve your seat. The link will also be in the show notes. And if you want to send me any questions you have personally, you can DM me on Instagram at Martine31Williams. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. We can set up a call if you need to do that too. I would love to see you in that room. I'd love to have you in the room. And I cannot wait to connect with you either here on the podcast or in that room. And I'll catch you on our next episode. Well, that's a wrap, friends. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I really hope it met you right where you are and gave you some encouragement for your day. Could you do me the biggest favor and leave me a rating and review? Seriously, it's the best way for you to support the show. And while you're there, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks again. And until next time, I am believing in you always.